All right, well, good evening. Today is Tuesday, December 6, 2022. The time is 5 p.m. and the regular meeting of the following will come to order. The Victorville City Council and the same council also sitting as the Victorville Library Board of Trustees, Southern California Logistics Rail Authority, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency, the city's Housing Assets successor, Joint Powers Financing Authority, and the Victorville Water District. Madam Clerk, will you kindly call the roll?
Councilmember Becerra. Councilmember Gomez.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving. Present. Mayor Jones.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. All right. We're going to move on to the introduction to public comments. Before I do that, Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. Then moving on, we're going to go to the declaration of closed session items by our city attorney, and standing in for us, do we have any items to declare?
We do have one closed session item for tonight. It is conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, Subdivision D1. The case name is unspecified in order to protect existing settlement communications.
All right, thank you very much. All right, with that said, we're going to recess to closed session. So we are in recess and we'll resume open session at 6 p.m. Good evening. Today is Tuesday, December 6, 2022. The time is 6 p.m. We are resuming the open session of our regular meeting, the following of which will come to order. The Victorville City Council and the same council also sitting as the Victorville Library Board of Trustees, Southern California Logistics Rail Authority, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency, the City as Housing Assets, successor Joint Powers Financing Authority, and the Victorville Water District. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Becerra.
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez.
Good evening.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
Present.
Mayor Jones.
Yeah, here.
Mayor Quorum.
All right, thank you so much. All right, closed session announcements by our attorney.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. There was no reportable action taken in closed session tonight.
All right, thank you. And this evening, we're going to move on to our next items, which is our invocation by Evangelist Debbie Bennett of Friendly Temple Church of God in Christ. And then that will be followed by our Pledge of Allegiance by Captain Wickham. Welcome. Thank you. And everybody, to the extent that you're able, please rise.
I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. God, you love us so much. You've gathered us here together in your wonderful chamber among your wonderful leaders that you've raised up, Deborah Jones, God, and all the people that are here, the council members, the chambers of this house, God. We thank you for the chambers of your heart and the chambers of the Constitution, Father. We thank you, Lord God, for our Declaration of Independence, oh God, life, liberty, Lord God, in the pursuit of happiness for each and every man. God, I pray a special blessing upon each and every person that is present. Lord, rule and reign and abide here, God, in a mighty way. God, bless the work that they've already done. You've already seen what they're building, Father. You see, Lord, the budget and all the things they have to enact in the legislation, Father. Lay your hands upon them. Rest upon them mightily, Lord God. Go forth in might and power in the name of Jesus. We all agree and say, amen.
Amen. Captain Wickham.
Please face the flag and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am. That was a beautiful and uplifting prayer. Thank you, Captain Wickham. All right, at this time, we're going to call for the presentation of the agenda and any revisions thereto, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item number 12 on the agenda tonight is being pulled.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to conflict of interest declarations. Council members?
No, ma'am.
Hearing, seeing none, we're going to move on to the introduction to public comments. Madam Clerk, any request to speak?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
All right, with that said, everyone, welcome to tonight's meeting of the Victorville City Council. Your City Council is interested in your ideas and opinions and furthermore endeavors to incorporate them into its deliberations. At the same time, the Council must be able to carry out its business in an organized and efficient manner, free from material disruption. Therefore, this meeting will be administered in accordance with the Council's established policies and procedures and Government Code Section 54957.9. Individuals may speak on agenda items or on issues not posted on the agenda during the public comments sections, provided that those issues are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Individual speakers may address the Council once per public comment period and once per each public hearing item for up to 3 minutes. Additional time may be allocated for appeal hearings in accordance with the City's adopted policy and procedures manual. Those who desire to comment tonight on a public hearing item may wish to reserve their remarks until that particular public hearing item has been opened. All testimony is to be directed solely to the Council. Although open meeting laws do not permit Council members to engage in dialogue with any speaker during the public comment periods, please know your comments and questions may be taken into consideration by Council members when discussing the particular agenda item. The presiding officer may briefly respond or have staff respond to statements or questions, or may request that the staff report back to the Council at a subsequent meeting. Speakers are requested to comment as briefly as the subject permits. Individual council members who speak as a member of the public do so without the semblance or presumption of authority derived from her public office and are subject to the same meeting rules of conduct and decorum as other public participants. Once comments are invited, the speaker will be called on by name, then recognized by the presiding officer. The speaker will state the item number or numbers that will be addressed, or that the subject is a non-agendized matter. Audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of the meeting, and those who do so are subject to removal from the meeting pursuant to Penal Code 403. Your understanding and cooperation are appreciated. Madam Clerk.
Our first speaker is Janet Kwan.
Thank you. Ms. Kwan, welcome to our meeting.
I asked George where I can get the search warrant from. You guys going to my house without a search warrant?
Ms. Kwan, my apologies. Can you speak closer to the mic so that we can hear you better?
Okay. The city of Victorville
Thank
going
you.
to my house and the police going to my house without a search warrant. I have go to the police station and they cannot provide me one. And I emailed George. 2 weeks ago, George said that the police will get back to me in few days. But until now, 2 weeks already, nobody contact me. So I want you guys to provide me the search warrant to prove that you guys have the power going to my house, to prove that you guys are not a thief. Try to get the house from me, okay? To prove you guys are innocent. You guys must provide me the search warrant. Not that I go around for the search warrant. It's you all need to provide me. Because you guys going to my house. If you guys cannot provide a search warrant, I will sue all of you. Okay? So give me as soon as possible to prove that you guys are not a thief. Okay, this is the first thing. Okay? Without a search warrant, you guys cannot go into my house. But you guys put a lien on my house and go into my house. So please provide me the search warrant as soon as possible. This is the first thing. The second thing, the tenant's utility bill have nothing to do with me. It's his business with City of Victorville. You guys can collect deposit from him, from the tenants. You guys can collect more. You guys check the credit. If you think that you guys need more deposit, get more deposit from here, from the tenant. Don't put the bill on the landlord. I want you guys to change this. This is between you and the person who opened the account. I have nothing to do with it. He don't pay the bill. Why you guys go after me? Put a lien on my house. You guys can check his credit. You guys can ask for more deposit,
Your time is up.
Thank you.
but not chasing
All right,
after
Madam
me.
Clerk, the next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Mario Felix.
Thank you, Mr. Felix. Welcome to our meeting. How are you?
Good. How are
Good.
you? It's
Very
a
well.
pleasure
Thank
to
you,
be
sir.
here. Now that I've made Victorville my home, and I want to thank you all. First, I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and I want to also say Happy New Year. But with the new year comes more duties and responsibilities. I appreciate the effort that you've all put forth in running this city. And we know that I feel that it's a great city, but any city needs improvements here and there. When I started getting involved I had a lot of ideas, and I came to find out that a lot of my ideas aren't feasible. It's not workable in this system. However, if we all get together and we strive forward, I believe that we can achieve a lot of the things that this city needs to accomplish. First of all, I'd like to ask that the voter polls be cleaned up in the city of Victorville and the San Bernardino County. They're a mess. It's a total mess. The voter polls are not representing the districts or the areas properly, adequately. I don't know where the numbers lie, but as after January, I've cleared my calendar. I will be able to be more involved. I have to take some classes to brush up on my computer skills, but that's where my goal is. That's where I'm going forward with that. The web page, I'd like to see a web page with Victorville where the residents could report incidences, violations, and get an immediate response. These live cameras that we've spent money on the cyber world. One thing I object to is speaking to you directly, and the public, all they see is the back of my head. You know, I'm opposed to that. I know in the future we have the sheriff's department that needs to be reestablished. We have to look into building a suitable library. Parks and Recreation, we have a lot of sports talent out here, but we have nowhere to display that venue. So we need suitable, adequate park and recreation facilities. I'd also like to see a senior center to accommodate our seniors, where recognize the
Your time is up.
problems.
Mr. Felix, we appreciate you so much, and we know that you have a lot of ideas, and we look forward to hearing more from you, sir.
Okay, after
Thank
January
you.
1st, I will be back.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you. Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is Lydia Marsala.
Good evening. It's been a while. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone here. It's a pleasure to be here today. I just got out of work at 4 o'clock and I look at my calendar and I said, oh, city meeting, I need to be there. Obviously, like you can see over there, it says reduce homelessness. What are we doing for the homeless? For the last month, I've been walking the streets of Victorville, like many of you guys know. There are several, I can almost say hundreds of people were no place to go. About 2 weeks ago, the city of Victorville requested our help for a nonprofit that I dedicated for about 5 years, God handstand it, to open a warming shelter for those individuals, families, kids, newborn, people that get released to the hospital with nowhere to go. The city asked for our help, but they will not give us any money because everything is tied up at the other city. We need to put this in the agenda, guys. 90% of the people that are here sitting today, before they got out of the car, took their jackets out because they were cold. Tonight when you go home, is your heater on? Can you afford it? Did you get kicked out of the house with the kids and no place to go? I have called 211 myself, and they told me to call the police department from Victorville. I have called the police department from Victorville, and they told me they can go to George Bay's shelter from sundown to sun up, which is a lie. They do not take anybody that needs a place to stay overnight. The two shelters that people can go are management by the same individual, which means if they do not like you for whatever reason at one shelter, you cannot go to the other shelter. We're going to have a meeting in the next 2 weeks. I'll be happy to fill out this building with homeless and individuals in need. If the city of Victorville had requested our help as a nonprofit, for God intended, please look at your books. There is money there. It's not our fault that you guys paid $2 million for something that is not up and running. I got 1 minute.
Your time is
God
up.
bless you. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is Nate Satrape.
Good evening, sir, and welcome. I'm pretty sure this is your first meeting with us, so we welcome you.
Yes, this is my first meeting. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm grateful to be here and the opportunity to speak to y'all. I've been helping out at the Victorville Senior Center, working in the garden, doing composting work. I'm working for a nonprofit right now that is funded from the CCGS grant. We didn't have a lot of infrastructure budget for what we're doing. We manage about 50 sites in the Inland Empire, and then we have one here in Hesperia close by, and then one in Victorville at the Senior Center. And why I'm here is because the garden that's already in place at the Senior Center, my friend Rooney helped establish that garden a few years ago, got vandalized by local folks, and we're trying to rebuild the garden in two different ways. We want to change the types of garden beds that are there. They're basically pots on pallets, and it's not very an efficient way to grow as much food as the space allows. So our team, we've used our infrastructure budget on the other 50 sites that we have. The amount of money that we need to retrofit this garden and the irrigation that was destroyed by the vandalization is actually a pretty small amount, but because of the nature of the grant, we don't have the funding for that. So I'm here to see if the city of Victorville would like to become a partner with this community garden. And I am very hopeful that this could become kind of like a guiding light into other community gardens that hopefully could come up in the future in Victorville. I believe in food sovereignty and food autonomy and growing food that doesn't have poison on it, because food that doesn't have poison on it is healing. And I think that could be afforded to more people if they have access to gardens. So I guess my request would be to make this like an action item in the future, or something that y'all could vote on. Again, the amount of money that we're looking for is less than $1,500, and we would like to partner with the city of Victorville to make that happen. We have the tools, the person power via volunteer help, and the know-how to do all the work. We just don't have the materials, and we'd like to get that reestablished as soon as possible, because we can grow a lot of winter crops. Could be the best time to grow. We also could get ready for the summer and spring coming up. So anyway, that's why I'm here. Maybe could make that an action item.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. We appreciate your coming here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
I have no additional speakers.
All right, with that said, the chair closes the public comment period, brings the item back to the council. We're now going to move on to our first business in order, which is public hearings, beginning with item number 1. This is the award of construction contract for the Guardrail project. Mr. Metzler, will you kindly introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. This item is a public works project effectively involving 13 locations throughout the city where we have the need to either repair or newly install guardrails at or along our right-of-ways in the city. It's a project that has actually gone through the public bidding process. And because federal funds are used, also had to include as a part of that bidding process the DBE qualification process. So with that, this item has gone through that process. We've been able to identify a lowest responsive bidder, which is summarized in the recommendation. So with that, the author on this item is your city engineer, Mr. Brian Gangler. He's available for any questions or comments you might have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Metzler. Madam Clerk, the recommendation, please.
That the Honorable City Council adopt resolution number 22-122 to amend the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget, appropriating $469,890 from a Highway Safety Improvement Program grant, approve the notice of exemption, and award a construction contract to Danny C. Hubbs Construction, Inc. in the amount of $758,175 for the Guardrail project.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. We're now going to move on to technical questions for clarification as it relates specifically to the staff report, keeping in mind that the point of this is to award a construction contract. So we're going to begin with Member Becerra.
No questions.
Thank you. Ms.
Yes, I noticed that this is a guardrail project and there's several figures. One of them is considered matching. So my question is pertinent to matching funds. So I presume matching would be at nearly $250,000, no, $500,000, 469,000. Is that the case for Measure I?
Yes, that is correct. The matching funds will be from Measure I.
Okay, and then it says the original grant amount was 388,600 and was later increased to 469,890. Did we have to do anything for that increase, or is that just the part of the award?
Yes, we did. We had to request an increase in the amount.
Okay.
It was based on an updated cost estimate.
It was requested, and what was the last part?
It was,
It is. We can hear you.
okay, thank you. It was based on an
Oh, I think we can. I can. Can everybody else? All right, we're good.
It was based on an updated cost estimate.
Okay. And then looks like it's going to be a part of the CIP project. I was wondering where, since we're going to start appropriating this money, is it going to be immediately after we fund it? And if so, where is that going to be on the phase of what year? Does it start immediately, or can we consider sometime before the project starts after funding?
We have not scheduled the start date for the project yet, but I'm going to guess it's going to start sometime 30 to 60 days from now.
Okay, and then I was looking at the guardrail project, and it looks like there's going to be a lot. Do we know how many miles of this guardrail project is going to be?
And no, I don't have that figure with me at this time.
Do we have an approximate?
I don't even want to guess because I don't really have that estimate with me.
So what is the purpose of these guardrail projects? Is it something just?
Well, most of these locations are replacing existing guardrail to bring them up to current standards. There is a location where there's new guardrail. And the purpose of guardrail, as stated in the staff report, is basically to reduce the severity of a crash in case a vehicle might leave the road for some reason.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Member Gomez. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Gingler, I want to thank you and your staff for a well-written report. Staff report, thank you very much. I don't have any questions.
Thank you. And the chair has none and is going to move on to open the public hearing and take public testimony. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right, with that said, the chair closes the public hearing, brings the item to the council, and requests a motion from the council.
Motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Thank you. We have a first. Is there a second?
Motion.
We have a first and a second. We're going to take discussion on the pending motion, beginning with Member Becerra, the maker. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
A moment.
Thank you, and the chair has none. Discussion period is closed. Madam Clerk, the vote, please.
Councilmember Becerra. Councilmember Gomez. Mayor Pro Tem Irving. Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the council's taken action in accordance with the recommendations set forth on the agenda. Moving on to item number 2. This is the award of construction contract, Old Town Sidewalk Connectivity Project, Phase 1. Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. One of our priorities in Old Town for some time now has been to improve the connectivity of sidewalks throughout the Old Town area. And we've actually surveyed that area and identified a number of deficiencies where effectively sidewalk exists and then the sidewalk potentially leads a pedestrian into property that isn't improved with concrete that serves as the sidewalk. So with that, we've had a goal just to make a number of locations throughout the Old Town area more walkable. And so with that, we've taken that survey then to develop a scope of work and effectively take that scope of work to go out for a bid, which actually conforms to our public bidding process. And so with that, using TDA Article 3 money along with Measure I money, this item is proposing to install connective sidewalks throughout Old Town to the lowest responsible bidder. So with that, also again, the author on this item is your city engineer, Mr. Brian Gengler. He's available for any questions or comments you might have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Metzler. Madam Clerk, the recommendation, please.
That the Honorable City Council approve the notice of exemption for the Old Town Sidewalk Connectivity Project, Phase 1, and award a construction contract to LCR Earthwork and Engineering Corp. in the amount of $775,879 for the Old Town Sidewalk Connectivity Project, Phase 1.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, technical questions for clarification as it relates to the staff report, keeping in mind that this, the gist of this item is to award a construction contract. We're going to begin this time with Member Gomez.
Yes, where sidewalks do not exist, will we be performing any kind of work to make that connection? And if so, how many miles or feet will we stop if there's a threshold?
I think the best way to answer that might be starting with page 161 of the agenda, which at least identifies the specific locations. There are 13 proposed project sites throughout Old Town to where these sidewalk connections are to be installed. As far as the lineal dimensions, I'm scrolling through. I don't know if we have that information handy, Mr. Gengler. Any sense?
I don't have the total of the lineal feet of the sidewalk. We're paying by square feet, so that's not at my fingertips at the moment. But to answer your question, the scope of work is basically to install sidewalk adjacent to existing curb and gutter. These streets all have curb and gutter, but there's just dirt adjacent to it, so it'd be installing sidewalk adjacent to the curb and gutter to provide a pedestrian way.
So can it safely be assumed if there's no curb and gutter, it's not within the project site to be able to implement anything?
There is curb and gutter now. We're adding sidewalk to adjacent to it.
Yes, so once again, is it safe to say if there is no curb and gutter, so anything outside of 13, I'm sure there's more, I'm presuming, that if that's the case, they would not be considered because they're not even part of this project.
I don't understand your statement.
Yeah, so I'm just making sure that if there's other areas with outside of the externality of 13 of them that we have in here, will those even be considered at all?
Wait, there will be a phase 2 project to this. There will be more sidewalk locations in a follow-up project.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was my question. And the next one is, how did we decide on being able to fund what we have on page 161 versus maybe something more adjacent outside of, but still within Old Town?
Well, so basically where these sidewalk locations are going on a particular block, there is no sidewalk now. So we selected blocks that have no sidewalk and would connect to sidewalk that is already there at other blocks. So it'll be a continuous sidewalk path.
Okay. And also, since we're just focusing on these 13 areas, what was the threshold of these particulars to be able to be appropriating dollars versus anything else? Or do we have something in the future? We just don't have it now, like you stated.
The grant amount limit was up to $250,000, so it was based on a cost estimate from several years ago. And since then, the costs have risen dramatically, but we were trying to keep it within that grant amount, and the minimum match was, you had to match an equal amount.
And is this also part of the CIP project?
Yes.
Can we see this started? Do we have an estimate date of when it'll begin?
I would estimate it be the same as the Guardrail project, probably starting in 30 to 60 days.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Member Gomez. All right, Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
I don't have any questions. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You bet. Member Becerra.
So, Mr. Gangler, what we're voting on here is what's in front of us. The square foot and linear footage of areas in the downtown area that already have sidewalk connected to in different areas. So we're connecting, a connectivity is what we're voting on, correct?
Yes.
I also note that we're also doing drive approaches, handicap ramps, everything that upgrades to a connectivity of sidewalk, correct?
That is correct.
So how you guys pick these locations, there's already sidewalk there. We're just connecting sidewalk here, correct?
Yeah, we're connecting sidewalk that will be on each end, basically. So it'll be continuous.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Thank you, Member Becerra. So to piggyback a little bit on that, so this is all meant to improve walkability and access in our city, correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, the chair has no further questions, and at this time opens the public hearing. Madam Clerk, any request to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So the chair closes the public hearing, brings this item back to the council, and invites a motion for.
Motion to approve.
There's
Pardon
somebody that raised his hand.
I'm sorry.
And I didn't see him.
Yes,
Mr. Felix.
Mr. Felix. So if I could for just one moment, Mr. Felix, so it's typically very helpful to fill out a speaker's card in advance. Although we're not going to deny you the opportunity to come and speak to us, it just helps us for the organization of the meeting, but please go ahead.
Thank you. After this COVID situation that we've been in and the restrictions on our speaking, I'm just familiarizing myself with the
Sure,
procedures.
of course.
My question would be, with these contractors, they're certified, are they paid is there going to be any tear outs down there where we're going to be tearing out any concrete and disposing of it? Because I am tired of seeing it being disposed of in the desert within the city limits of Victorville. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Felix. Appreciate it. All right.
There-
Madam Clerk, thank you. To the extent that, you may quickly, as long as it's a minor clarification.
Mr. Gangler, when we're installing this, there is an inspector on site that requires dump tickets, correct?
Yeah, that's typical, but there will be some concrete removed. That's right.
Because it says so on here. There'll be removal and replacement of certain areas, but we require the contractor to show us dump tickets that he dumped at a approved location, correct? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. You bet. All right. And so that's in keeping with council members being able to respond to comments from, if they have additional time to ask further questions. All right. So with that said, Madam Clerk, are there any other requests to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right. So with that said, the public comment period is closed, the public hearing is closed, and the chair invites a motion from the council.
Motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I heard a second. Thanks, Paul.
I'm sorry, did you second?
I did not.
It was Councilmember Gomez that seconded.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we have a first and a second discussion on the pending motion. Member Becerra.
Discussion.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
No.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
No, ma'am.
Thank you. The chair has none. Discussion period is closed. Madam Clerk, vote please.
Councilmember Becerra. Aye. Councilmember Gomez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. So that council has taken action to adopt the recommendations set forth on the agenda. Moving on to item number 3. This is the introduction of City Council Ordinance 2433, repealing and amending various chapters and sections of Title 8 of the Victorville Municipal Code. Mr. Metzler, will you tee up the item, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council, and similar to an item that we attended to either at the last meeting or 2 meetings ago. This is similar to the code amendments that we made relative to adopting the new building codes. So similar in nature, just as the state every 3 years adopts new versions of certain California Code of Regulations that deal with building and construction. Part of that is the California Fire Code, and in our particular case, we basically conform in our municipal code to the then current or the current fire code. So we're at a point in time with the newly adopted state codes. It's now time for us to effectively conform to that. And in doing so, we have to amend our code to reflect that. So with that, this particular item is dealing with the city's municipal code regarding fire, which is found in Title 8. This one is coming on a separate time schedule as the building code, as there was some items we had to address that were really outside of the California Code of Regulations, but had more to do with some of the local elements that we included, such as how we staff the fire department. So with that, this item is brought to you for consideration. It's co-authored by Sophie Smith, your Deputy City Manager, also your Fire Chief, Mr. Brian Fallon, and we also have in attendance the Battalion Chief Goff as well, who oversees the Fire Prevention Bureau that's largely responsible for enforcing and ensuring compliance with these provisions of the code. So with that, staff is available for any questions or comments you might have.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Metzler. Madam Clerk, the recommendation, please.
That your honorable city council open and conduct a public hearing to receive citizen comments regarding ordinance number 2433 and the municipal code amendments included therein. Introduce ordinance number 2433 for adoption and first reading by title only, and waive further reading in full of ordinance number 2433.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, moving on to technical questions for clarification as it relates to the staff report. We're going to begin this time with Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I do have a few questions. I just want to understand what these amendments mean. The way I read the backup material does 3 things. It eliminates the reserve fire program, and that would be in alliance with our current MOU. Additionally, it streamlines the cost recovery for fire. And lastly, it clarifies the city manager's authority. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
In terms of clarifying the city manager's authority, is that in concurrence with the current California Fire Code, or is that let me ask a question, how does it clarify the role? It gives you what, greater, so I understand it, so that you don't have to, in terms of approving, deleting, it doesn't have to come before council and go through the bureaucratic process of, is that what it is?
To some degree, yes. And so first, the changes relative to the city manager's role are not so much related to anything that's in the state code of regulations. This more so has to do with how we effectively want to run and staff and lead the fire department. These particular changes in Title 8, dealing with the city manager, more so have to do with bringing them to be compatible with other provisions already established in other codes.
So it makes us more agile.
Yeah, more consistent with the code, especially as those that define the role of the city manager.
Thank you for clarifying. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Member Becerra. Thank you, Member Gomez.
Yes, particularly what language needed to be clarified in what specific process that we're talking about?
Well, we can certainly walk through the documents. I believe in the attachments, we actually have the code and red line versions of it so you can track the changes. But Ms. Smith is likely, as I'm scrolling through, able to speak to those that are staffing related.
Absolutely. So for the changes regarding the city manager's authority, that is actually a change found to chapter 8.04.060. The additional changes that the mayor pro tem summarized are found in chapters 8.06, where the reserve firefighter program was eliminated, and very minor changes throughout chapter 8.04, such as capitalization, just grammatical type things, capturing the appropriate staffing in the department. Those are found in 8.04, so all in chapter 8.04 of Title 8.
And so with that, just to be more pointed as to where in the agenda, page 207 is really the beginning of the track changes, where you'll actually see strike throughs, which means effectively a deletion. You'll see double underlining of words where those are actual new inclusions to the code. So that's how you'd read those track changes.
So Title 8 would include, it's inclusive of the MOU that was recently negotiated between the city and the fire department.
I wouldn't characterize it as being inclusive because it really is not. Effectively, the changes that we've made, as we've referenced, the MOU is making sure that what we've negotiated in the MOU, to the extent there's any mentions in this code, we're actually trying to make this code compatible with the actual MOU contract. And so, for example, as articulated in the staff report, we spoke to the limited term concept of firefighters. And while when we first established this code and reactivated the fire department, there was a vision for the use of limited term, as we completed our negotiation with the MOU, we've lost that vision for the use of that type of staffing element to support the department. So what we are wanting to do is make sure that as we're now updating this code, we're not doing anything that conflicts with the existing MOU.
So then I will not be able to find any language embedded in the MOU in Title 8 with all the clarification and processes. Is that what you're saying? Because when I said included or part of this process, it was when Leslie Irving addressed that as being part, and it was said yes to her. But when I asked the same question in my words, it was no. So I'm seeking clarification.
So there are two mutually exclusive documents, the MOU and the municipal code. And you're not going to see those two documents speaking to each other in the sense that they're using language. I mean, for example, you're not going to find provisions of the MOU in the code, and you're not going to find really provisions of the code in the MOU, because they're really intended to do two different things. But as they have relatable subjects, we're just in this action cleaning up any issues to avoid the potential for conflict.
Okay, and then if you turn your attention to page 218, it just talks about the term material, which is probably something minor. Maybe it's something major. Being able to include the term materials, was that actually something that needed to be done? Because if that's the case, what's the difference between the other adjectives that were added, and why the inclusion of this one? Why would it help?
Just trying to catch up, page 218. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so in that particular section relative to cost recovery, subsection, so it's chapter 8.10050, subsection B had a long paragraph, and it dealt with the way that cost recovery as it relates to materials would be calculated. And that whole section B was eliminated, and the word materials was instead added to section A.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions.
All right, thank you very much, Member Gomez. And the chair has no questions. And the chair opens the public hearing for public testimony. Madam Clerk, any request to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. The chair closes the public hearing, brings the item back to the council, and invites a motion from the council.
Madam Mayor, I move
Pardon
that
me?
we
Madam Mayor, would you like me to read the ordinance title?
Oh, my apologies. Yes, please.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Victorville, repealing and amending various chapters and sections of Title 8 of the Victorville Municipal Code for the purpose of adopting by reference the 2022 edition of the California Fire Code, California Code of Regulations, Title 24, Part 9, including appendices B, B, C, D, E, F, H, and I thereof, and other local amendments. 2, reflecting certain fire department operational changes, and 3, making other clarifying revisions to the code.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now the chair invites a motion as to points 2 and 3 on the agenda.
I'd like to move that as recommended by staff.
Thank you. We have a first. Is there a second?
second.
Thank you. We have a first by Member Gomez, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Irving. Discussion on the pending motion beginning with Member Gomez.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh, ma'am.
Thank you, Member Becerra. Thank you. The chair has none. Madam Clerk, the vote, please. Discussion period is closed.
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving?
Yes.
Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the council's taken action in accordance with the recommendations set forth on the agenda. Moving on to the next business in order, which is our consent calendar items number 4 through 11. At this time, a motion is in order for the council and the council acting on its various boards of directors to approve action on consent calendar items numbers 4 through 11 in accordance with the recommendations presented on the agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first and second. Madam Clerk, vote please.
Councilmember Becerra? Councilmember Gomez?
Yes, except on 5, no.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving?
Yes.
Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously with Councilmember Gomez voting no on item 5.
Thank you very much. All right, so the council and its council acting in its various capacities has taken action in accordance with the recommendations set forth on the agenda, with the exception of Member Gomez voting no on item number 5. Moving on to our next business in order, which is written communications, beginning with we're going to move on from item number 12 because that was pulled at the beginning of the agenda. So we're going to move on to item number 13. And in as much as items number 13 through 15 are substantially similar in that they each address issues of the purchases and installation of playground equipment for 3 city parks from game time, the chair invites a motion to consider items 13 through 15 concurrently. Should anyone agree, please feel free to say so moved. We have a first by Member Irving, a second by Member Becerra. Discussion on the pending motion.
No discussion.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
Yes. Each of these, even though they're about the parks, I think each of them are in different districts and they merit their own solid discussion. So I don't agree with the consolidation of 13, 14, and 15.
Thank you very much, Member Becerra. All right, further discussion? My apologies. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, the vote, please.
Councilmember Becerra? Councilmember Gomez?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Irving?
Yes.
Mayor Jones?
Aye.
Motion passes with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Thank you. So items 13 and through 15 will now be considered concurrently. So the chair is going to read the title on each of them. And then when the chair invites the agenda items to be introduced, they'll be introduced one after the other. All right. So item number 13 is the 2022 CPRS. Excuse me. The 2022 CPRS statewide training and funding initiative Brentwood Park Playground replacement. 14 is the 2022 CPRS statewide training and funding initiative Eva Dell Park Playground replacement. And item 15, 2022 CPRS statewide training and funding initiative Center Street Park Playground replacement. Mr. Metzler, will you kindly tee up those items in order?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. These items deal with improvements to 3 of our parks here in the city. And thankfully, we've been fortunate to be awarded funds through a statewide competitive grant process, but also we've been very thankful for the partnership that the city has had with the Bears Foundation, as they're a nonprofit locally focused on helping improve the recreational amenities throughout the city. And so with that, these items in the aggregate, funding is being made available through the grant or through that Bears partnership, effectively to make playground improvements, and in the case of one park, substantial revitalization efforts of the one park. So the parks that we're speaking to specifically are the Brentwood Park. That's where we'll have a playground replacement. We'll have the most significant of park enhancements and improvements done at the Evadale Park, and then also the Center Street Park will be benefiting from these funds. So with that, the author on all three of these items is your Deputy City Manager, Ms. Janelle Davidson. She's available for any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, the recommendations on 13, 14, and 15 in their respective order.
That the Honorable City Council award the purchase and installation of playground equipment to Game Time for the replacement of the playground at Brentwood Park. And that the Honorable City Council award the purchase and installation of playground equipment to Game Time for the replacement of the playground at Evadale Park. And that the Honorable City Council adopt resolution number 22-125, accepting a donation of funds from Benefit Everyone Assist Recreation and Sports for the purchase and installation of a playground at Center Street Park, and amend the annual budget for fiscal year 2022-2023, and award the purchase and installation of playground equipment to Game Time for the replacement of the playground at Center Street Park.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right. With that said, I'm going to go on to technical questions for clarification as it relates to all three items. We're going to begin with Member Gomez.
Yes, how did the city come up with the estimation of 132,018 with 25?
And Member Gomez, to which item do you refer?
The one that has the estimation of $132,000 approximately.
Is
I
that-
believe all of them have an estimation.
But for that specific number, is it item number 13?
Well, I mean, 13, 14, and 15, so these are all going to be for 13, 14, and 15.
Sure.
I believe Councilmember Gomez is speaking to item 15. That is for the replacement at Center Street Park, and that amount was based on the quote received by the vendor.
And what administrative costs are associated with that estimation?
There are no administrative costs included.
Okay. And what's the standard process for the allotment of the excessive funds that will remain unused for all three items?
Well, in terms of items 13 and 14, those are Prop 68 grants. The scope of the grant is larger than just the playground replacement, so the remaining funds would go toward completing the rest of that project. For the Center Street Park replacement, the way that works with the Bears organization, they pledge an amount up to $135,000, and we will invoice them for the actual cost, so there will be no leftover amount.
Okay, and if you see the estimated costs versus the remittance of payments of the donation, it's $135,000. But I also saw that there was more than that dollar amount. So I'm going to contextualize it with there's a certain amount of money that we're not going to be using. But you said Prop 8 and this one funded is very differently, so it doesn't make sense to me to see two figures.
Are you perhaps referring to the comments in the staff report talking about how we capitalize the playground?
So let me see if this clarifies. So I know it's on page 1176. I stated, if you could please explain in plain language how a requirement capitalizing this asset in full value versus the application of the discount of 50% is effective when the norms of receiving donations come about. So maybe that's the language I didn't understand.
Sure. So for each of these items, because the CPRS statewide training and funding initiative is a matching funds grant, the grant is applied as a discount to the purchase. We don't actually receive those funds from the organization. So when we go to capitalize the asset, we have to take into account the full value of the playset. So that's why you see a higher value listed in that fiscal impact section, just to let you know that although we're paying a reduced cost under this program, we need to account for it at its full value.
So how do we consolidate that idea as if there's no extra monies, or even if there are $3,000 extra? But you're saying that we're not receiving it, right?
We're
Okay,
not receiving it.
get it. What type of maintenance and structural improvements were deferred at Center Street Park that have not been addressed, including replacement and installation of the playground?
Center Street Park, like all of our other parks, has deferred maintenance, but we've been making quite a bit of progress over the past year. We've been working on improving paths of travel, improving the parking lots, replacing the bleachers. You may recall we recently had an item, we demolished the old cinder block style restroom, and we are going to be installing one of the self-cleaning restrooms. So there are a number of improvements in addition to this playground replacement that we've been working on.
So then, the things that were deferred were addressed, but the things that weren't deferred is something that we see futuristically, which is the sub bathroom that cleans itself. Is that what you said?
That was one of the deferred maintenance items, yes.
Okay. And did the city participate in the Healthy Play statewide initiative and receiving
Our
funds
time is up.
for this one?
Okay, we're going to move on because that really does exceed the scope of the intent of this agenda item. All right, with that said, Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Member Becerra.
Yes, let's get to the questions at the playground. These playground equipments, they're gonna come ADA accessible, correct? I did hear you say that you're working on currently path of travel to the playground equipment that we're buying.
Correct. The city has a self-assessment and transition plan that allows us to plan for and address ADA compliance issues over time. So as we complete any project, we address anything that would be connected to that project.
So is
And
these,
all of these play sets are ADA compliant.
and all the kids will be able to gain access to them and have a good time.
That is correct. And in the case of Evadale Park, just to point out that that will be our first all-inclusive playground, which although there were a couple other organizations who were also awarded Prop 68 funding and will be installing playgrounds, this is our first and the first in the area. And that is going above and beyond ADA compliance to make sure that you're providing a play area that is accessible for all abilities.
Thank you. Congratulations to you and the staff on the award of all of these grants. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Member Becerra. And the chair has no questions and invites a motion from the council.
Motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first by Member Becerra, a second by Member Gomez. Discussion on the pending motion, Member Becerra.
Thank you. Very good put together. Congratulations.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, I want to say thank you so very much, and well put together report, and congratulations. I'm echoing with what my colleague has said. I'm very proud of the city and you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Irving, and the chair joins with those same sentiments, and moves on to, let's see. Oh, all right, discussion is now closed, and the chair invites a motion. Excuse me, Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Councilmember Becerra.
Aye.
Councilmember Gomez. Mayor Pro Tem Irving.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, so the council's taken action in accordance with the recommendations on 13, 14, and 15 as posted on the agenda. Moving on to our final items on the agenda, beginning with number 16, City Manager reports. Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of events coming up for the holidays, particularly on the rec and library side of the house, to give something more for our families and youth to participate in. So starting December 19th through 23rd, and then again the 26th through the 30th, we have two sessions where we're going to conduct Kids Club Winter Camp, and that'll be actually done at Book Community Center and we've got half day or full day schedules. There's a little bit of a cost associated with the session, $60 per week for the half day and $120 a week for the full day. But more information involving that Kids Club Winter Camp can be available on our website, or certainly calling us here at City Hall, and we can provide that information. We also have a fun snow globe craft event scheduled at the Victorville Library, December 8th, between the hours of 4 and 5 p.m. There's no cost associated with that event. And then we've also got, it's that time of year, CDBG and home grant applications. We're now starting the process, so we're actually conducting technical assistance workshops for those interested in applying for either of those two grant programs. Our next assistance workshop will be Tuesday, December 13th, 10 a.m. here in City Hall, Conference Room D. And you may remember in this last cycle, we awarded approximately $1.9 million worth of grant assistance. So with that, Madam Mayor, that's all I have at this time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Messler. Moving on to item number 17, this is discussion and possible action regarding upcoming agenda items. We're going to begin with Member Gomez.
Yes, so I had a couple of members that spoke to this, so it's only me bringing up for an upcoming agenda on behalf of them. So I would like to place on the agenda within the next 90 days, discussion and possible action to have a planification for a master plan to start incorporating seniors, to look at a senior center and how the city of Victorville can partner or possibly use ARPA funds. That's my motion.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second? Hearing no second, the motion dies. Anything further, Member Gomez?
Yes. The second one was also brought by a member of the public. So I'd like to see within the next 90 days that we can put a motion for discussion and possible action for incorporation of cameras that take consideration the public speaker, so we can all members of the public can also externally see who is speaking. They're not just the back, but the front of their faces. That would be something within the next 90 days.
Okay, got it. We have a motion. Is there a second? Hearing no second, the motion dies. Anything further?
Yes. And this one was also brought by a member of the public. Member of the public would like to see within the next 90 days possible action and discussion for negotiations and planification for a potential garden in the city of Victorville to aid with public funding. I'd like to see that on the agenda as well.
I'm sorry, negotiation and what?
Planification,
Planification. Okay,
discussion, and possible action.
thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second? Hearing no second, the motion dies. Anything further?
Nothing else. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Member Becerra? Thank you. Member Pro Tem?
Thank you.
Thank you. Chair has nothing. Moving on to item number 18. This is reports from council members. Member Becerra?
That's a report. We're on Christmas break back to the 4th of December.
Gotcha. Member Gomez?
Yes. This is a time where I let the community know what I've been doing out in the streets and in public and in different areas in the public sector, which is typically the norm for me, which is door knocking, advocating on your behalf, and making sure that if there's any kind of resources, whether it's in writing or someone that can bring something to the dais on your behalf, that is what I consistently do. It never has changed, and it's something that I'm very passionate that I continue to do. And at many occasions, I do a lot of this also on social media for those individuals who cannot make it in person, and then obviously use various language to accommodate the different types of languages that we have, including American Sign Language, which I'm fluent in, and Spanish, and anything else that anyone can help me. It's a bridge to gap. Gracias por estar aquí y porque llegaron.
Thank you, Member Gomez. Mayor Pro Tem Irving?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. At this time, I want to say thank you to a few agencies in the community for allowing me to work with them and partnering with them to serve the community during the month of November. That would be the Victor Valley Rescue Mission, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and the Community Action Partnership of San Bernardino. Collectively, through that partnership and that effort, we were able to secure 475 turkeys serving over 1,000 people in the high desert region. And more importantly, I really had a wonderful time on November 19th, working along with DST and volunteer members, the Red Apron team at the Victor Valley Rescue Mission Great Turkey giveaway at the fairgrounds. So I want to say thank you. My parents always told me it's better to give than receive, and truly it was a blessing. And so I want to say thank you. That would be it. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. All right, so attended the usual meetings for the Victor Valley Wastewater Reclamation Authority. I'm hoping that sometime soon we're going to get a presentation from them as to the great things going on in the Victor Valley. A lot of great things going on in terms of recovery and so forth. I attended the SBCTO Mountain Desert Policy Committee. Our last meeting, we had a rather lengthy presentation from Caltrans in terms of the emergency protocols and procedures should we face any kind of real emergency in our region, especially on the Cajon Pass, and what that would mean to Victorville in particular, and our region in particular. I was blessed to attend the Fire Academy graduation for our scholarship recipients. Victorville, of course, is responsible for that. We're so proud of the graduates. I attended the PFAL Christmas party for our youth, and they're stepping up and learning great life skills, so very proud of them. And I went to Squadron's 20-year celebration for their incredible innovation. They're quite the shining light in our community. I attended the surprise announcement with the Victor Valley College Foundation for Darren Paulson, our CEO with BVWRA. He's going to be receiving an accolade award soon. And hats off to our city and everything that went into place for the Christmas parade and the Christmas tree celebration, the tree lighting. It was fabulous. Particular thanks to Member Gomez for being willing to step up with me and make it fun for our kids in the community as we lit the tree, invited Santa Claus to be a part of our celebration. So with all of that said, there's no further business before us, and that does conclude our business for this evening. And as a matter of housekeeping, all council members, staff, and audience members will kindly vacate council chambers and City Hall within 10 minutes. That's 7:18, so that these facilities may be cleaned and secured for the evening. Members of the audience are not permitted behind the dais. Again, thank you everyone for your participation. This meeting stands adjourned. I did.